I've got the camera on me, like up here.
Oh, that one's on me?
That one's on me.
Oh, okay.
This one's on you right
Okay,
here.
so I was gonna think that was weird if it was the other way around.
No, I was. It's like it's taped to the pole, so hopefully the shit doesn't come falling down in the middle of the podcast.
It'd be funny. That green light is right on me. Hi.
Say hello.
Reminds me of those little sentry bots in Portal. I forget what they're called.
Ah,
I
yes.
think they have a name.
I can't remember what
They're
they're
really
called.
cute,
Yeah.
For being murder silver bots.
But I haven't actually played Portal. I've only played Half-Life.
Oh.
So, which, kind of.
Half-Life 2 as well?
Mhm.
Alright. You should probably play Portal.
Yeah, I should. Actually, stopped gaming for a while. And just this weekend went to the game store and bought 3 RPGs.
What'd you buy?
Just kind of shitty games. Like, me and my wife like to play co-op RPGs, like hack and slash RPGs, or isometric top-down ones like Baldur's Gate and Champions of Norath, stuff like that. And they kind of stopped making those for the new consoles, which sucks. Like, there's probably only a handful that were made for Xbox 360, which is what we, the most recent system that we have. But I know you can probably get more on PC, but I don't know, you can't sit in your bed and play a PC game, So we like to sit in bed, fucking hella munchies, and just smash orcs and loot chests and stuff like that. It's a good relationship building experience.
What kind of character do you play? What do you go for?
Usually, well, if you can design your own character, I usually design a badass chick who's probably got a shaved head or some kind of badass scar across her face like that. Otherwise, I like a balanced character, a little bit of magic, but not completely helpless with combat, which is tough. So usually a dark elf or something like that, or Also, my wife is kind of she is the brute. She likes to just go in and just fucking smash shit up.
That's what I'm like. I really like making mage characters, but I end up getting bored and I end up making a warrior.
No, that's the case with me, where I want to be the fucking mage and develop cool spells and whatnot, and then I just end up dying all the fucking time because you're. And that's one thing that kind of sucks about those games is they make it so that certain characters are ranged, but then there's no way to really avoid people running up on you.
Yeah.
So it's having a character that doesn't have close quarters combat abilities, you're fucked. Unless you're in a party of people that can keep these motherfuckers off you while you run and get to a vantage point. And then by the time you get to the vantage point, everybody's fucking dead already. You're guys!
Or sometimes your character is too strong if you're a mage.
That's
in
true,
Dark
yeah.
Souls 2, I had that problem where my character was too strong. I had to start. I got bored, and I had to play as a warrior because that was more challenging. I got my ass kicked.
That's true.
Because I like getting my ass kicked in Dark Souls. That's the whole point.
That's one that I want to check out. I don't think it has a 2-player co-op though, which sucks.
You should play Dark Souls 1.
Is it good?
I like Dark Souls 1 more than 2, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was hearing the opposite from a lot of people.
Really? I don't know. There's just something... I think it's because Dark Souls 1 is so much harder. I think Dark Souls 1 is harder.
Okay.
And because of that, it makes me like it a little bit more. I feel like it's just
more of a challenge.
so brutal. It's just, and there's no mercy at all. And I don't know, it's a little bit more cryptic, I guess. There's more story that you have to piece together yourself, I think. I mean, the same goes for Dark Souls 2, but I don't think as much.
What about like the Elder Scrolls games? Are you into those?
You see, I really liked Morrowind, and I really liked
Oblivion.
Skyrim,
Oh,
but
Skyrim.
I don't know. I get really bored of I guess like I love fantasy, but fantasy games I guess I get bored of. I'm more of a like post-apocalyptic. Like I could play Fallout until
Yeah,
the
for
end of
sure.
time. Like I still play Fallout 3 and New Vegas like
Yeah.
quite frequently actually because it just doesn't get tiring.
I liked New Vegas, but that game fucking kills me. Like the loading screens are just
Oh yeah.
insane. Like every 10 seconds it's like a loading screen going between places, especially if you're trying to like
So
get
warp like
into New Vegas. Like, oh my god, it's insane.
yeah, because New Vegas is like a bunch of
Yeah.
little districts, and you go through all the districts and load from one to the other. Yeah, I don't know. 3 will always have a special place in my
Yeah.
heart.
Morrowind was awesome. But um the I don't know, there something that whole type of game should really look at is like how do they build the world in GTA where like it's not loading every 5 seconds and it's a huge open world and like you can just traverse it and get into
Hmm.
shit. Like I wish that they would do that. Because that was the problem with Fallout 3, New
Hmm.
Vegas, and I mean to some extent Skyrim, but definitely Oblivion. Uh, Too many fucking loading screens, and the loading takes so fucking long. It totally gets you out of the vibe.
Hmm.
And I don't know. I another thing that always thought was crazy is that video game developers, they're like doing the same thing over and over again for different projects, like building these environments and levels and all this shit. And then they finish the game and then that's it. And then they'll make a sequel and they have to do it all over again, like for a new console. I'm like, isn't there a way that you can like scale this, like where you're building the same shit and then when the new console comes out, you're just replacing like you're reskinning it essentially and like
I
so
think
the
they do
city
that.
has better graphics but like all the geometry is there already.
I'm not sure. I don't know
Oh fuck.
anything about game development, so for all I know, that they are doing that right now. Is there something going on?
Shit's falling already, but we keep talking.
Oh no. You should just put them on the back of little pigeons and have the pigeons fly around the room. Oh, that would be so cool.
That would not be cool.
That would be awesome. We talk about pigeon cam.
Pigeon shit everywhere.
I guess so. I mean, how about bats? Maybe they don't poop as much.
Pigeons are filthy animals.
We could clean them. They're just misunderstood. Misunderstood creatures.
But anyway, I guess I should do an intro here.
They're so sassy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 20 of Between You, Me, and Jose. As you might have noticed, if you're watching this podcast, we got a little bit of a different location going on. We're in one of the green rooms here at Slim's. We have some construction and modification going on to our lighting booth and our sound booth, so thought I'd steer clear of the stage today. So we're coming to you from a super secret location beneath Slim's. I already told you it's the green room, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how to get there because you're not as fucking important as we are. We get to chill where the artists chill. Just saying. Anyway, this is episode 20, which I didn't think we would get to 20 episodes when we first started this podcast, so that's pretty cool. Hopefully by now you've subscribed on iTunes and or on YouTube. But if you haven't, go ahead and click the button that's on the screen somewhere around here. Where? Over here.
You're
I
doing
don't
that
know.
little dance.
Yeah,
I love when people do that on
there it
YouTube.
is. Like over here. Or maybe it's up here.
Where is it?
How do weathermen do this?
I don't know.
It like might be like up around here, or maybe like where, like right here, maybe.
You're pointing at Marin right now.
So go ahead and click that subscribe button. We'll have new episodes every Wednesday. And, to be honest, I'm getting a little depressed that people aren't liking our shit. People aren't subscribing. So, I don't know. I might stop the podcast if you don't subscribe. So that's not a threat. I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just saying,
Or we'll keep doing it, whichever one is worse for you all, I guess.
I guess that's true. We could be rebels and just say, fuck you guys. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
But, it's not easy getting guests all the fucking time, bringing you high caliber content in the digital age. It's not easy, I got a job. I got other shit I got to do. So, the least you could do is click subscribe. It's totally easy. You're basically using one muscle to do it. You're just doing that. And that's pretty fucking easy. So, also on iTunes. So subscribe there. Check us out if you are one of the people that like to listen rather than watch, which I understand, but just saying we are very attractive. So check out the YouTube video if you like hot guys. I mean, me and Phil are pretty sexy. You can see Phil right here. Look at that hair. Lovely. Fresh out of the salon.
Rub against the mic, do a little ASMR. Today we're gonna do an ASMR video.
I don't understand that shit.
I love ASMR videos.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
What is the appeal to that?
ASMR videos. They help me sleep. I'm not even gonna pretend that I have no idea what ASMR is.
I mean, I understand putting some shit on to help you go to sleep, but for me, I'll just go on YouTube and put on a documentary. That lulls me to sleep.
What kind of document? Oh, documentaries keep me up. Actually, I have to figure out. I have to watch. I have to know it.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes they give me weird dreams. Have you ever fallen asleep watching the History Channel, or the History Channel back when it actually was a history channel?
Like when it was the Nazi channel?
Yeah, but I used to have crazy dreams about Nazis all the time.
Yeah, those Nazis are fucked up.
Yeah, they're scary.
What kind of dreams though? The Nazis would be in your dreams?
Yeah, they'd be in my dreams. I don't even really remember. I just know that they'd be Actually, I recall one that had to do with bikers and Nazis.
Nazi
and Hitler
bikers?
and Goebbels and things like that.
That sounds like a badass dream. I wouldn't mind.
Scary.
Wouldn't mind having that dream.
I
like crazy dreams,
But this could be our ASMR video, number 20. Today we're going to...
We're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about very uninteresting things so that you may sleep.
I'm going to show you everything that's in my bag.
Look, I have some gum.
I'm going to touch the mic.
I mean, I've never actually watched one of these things, so
there's all sorts of
is it
triggers.
just people whispering shit and playing little sounds?
They they whisper, and then they will do ear to ear stuff. So that way, there was whispering in this ear, and then this ear, and then back and forth. And then there's certain triggers that make people tingle. I forget what all of them are. There's crinkling of stuff, and then tapping, and then rubbing the mic.
Okay. So is it the opposite of noise music, basically?
Yeah, it's sort of, I don't know. There's some sort of interesting science behind it, though, about what makes people relax. I find that interesting. What makes people get that, what do they call them? I think they call them eargasms or something. That, tingling sensation in the back of your head when you hear something really comfortable.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. I have been having, I don't know. I smoke a lot of weed, so for some reason, for me, weed makes me not able to remember my dreams. I either don't have dreams, which I don't think is possible, or I just don't remember them.
Mm-hmm.
But for a long time I thought it was weed, and so because when I would stop, then I would remember my dreams and I would have crazy dreams. So I always thought that was the reason. But then I don't know if you heard about this experiment that these high school girls did in Sweden, somewhere in Europe like that, where they were basically well, they had this hypothesis that that Wi-Fi signals and Wi-Fi in particular has an effect on the brain. And I guess these high school girls had noticed that when they slept with their phone near their head, they like woke up feeling groggy and like fucked up, and they couldn't remember their dreams. And I never ever even thought of that. Like, I would sleep with my cell phone on the table right next to my bed. So like probably like a foot away from my head all the time, and I never really thought about it. And then these girls, they noticed that, and they wanted to do an experiment, but obviously they're in high school, they can't really like do anything that complex. So what they ended up doing was like they had 2 rooms with plant life in them, and one of the rooms had a Wi-Fi router in it, one of them didn't. Everything else was the same. The room with the Wi-Fi router in it, the plants started shriveling up, dying, getting really gnarly. Plants in the other room were totally fine. I'm like, this is a high school fucking kid doing this, and I was like, shit, maybe I shouldn't sleep with my phone right next to my head. Like,
maybe.
And I have my Wi-Fi router in my bedroom, like all this shit that I never really thought about before.
Well, that's sketchy.
So now I like put my phone across the room a little bit, and I remember my dreams way more often. I'm still like not sleeping great. Like whenever I wake up, I'm fucking tired. So maybe I need to move that Wi-Fi router, but I don't know. It's crazy that we don't think about shit like that. And there was one time when I was talking to my wife, who at the time was not my wife, and we were talking about how, when cars were invented back in the day, like nobody thought that the side effects of that would affect the entire planet. Like, whether you believe in man-made global warming or not, like the theory is that, we're the greenhouse gases produced by a lot of our cars and industrial operations and shit is trapping heat and magnifying it and warming the planet, which is totally an effect that you would never imagine when you're inventing a car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to think that like we might be in the middle of something like that, where we're not thinking about the side effects of having these wireless signals all around us, traveling through our bodies, and who knows what the fucking side effects are going to be. It's crazy. I mean, there's always been people talking about cell phones give you cancer and all that shit. But the idea that wireless routers and all this shit, I mean, you can't really escape that. Like, they're everywhere.
The Wi-Fi code's right there. I mean, we're sitting in it right now.
We're sitting in it right now. This computer is producing a signal. The Wi-Fi router is not that far away. And
the amount of waves that we're sitting in right now is probably uncountable.
It's pretty insane. And I mean, I don't know if they are like super bad for us or not. Like, I think signs are pointing to it's not great, But are we going to have like a bunch of people walking around with crazy
tinfoil
mutations and shit like that? I don't know. It's weird to think about, though. Like the completely unforeseeable side effects of technology. That's something that keeps me up at night.
I would like to see more research on that.
It's crazy, though, but do you think... This is the craziest part. What if someone came out tomorrow with like a totally foolproof, well, I should say bulletproof, airtight paper, 100% showing that wireless radiation and cell phone radiation seriously damage you and can lead to cancer? Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's just how it is. would we even change? Like, you know,
I don't think anyone would believe it, to be honest.
yeah,
I think no matter how obvious it was, how like true that paper was, I think too many people would say nah.
yeah.
Too
I
many
mean,
people.
that's kind of how it is with, I don't know, if global warming is
Mhm.
even the term anymore. Climate change, I guess. But, there are a lot of people that I don't know how many people don't believe it, like straight up don't believe it. But I know a fair amount of people don't believe that it is necessarily man-made,
Mhm.
caused by our actions.
A surprising number.
But then again, like I always like to look at both sides before I make a decision on something, and that usually leads to me not being able to make a decision.
Yeah.
But so I mean, I look at both sides. I look at both arguments, and to be quite honest with you, although there's a lot of um, a lot of people who are misunderstanding shit uh, on the side of people that are skeptical about man-made global warming. Although there are some people that are talking out of their asses, there are some people who, have some pretty good evidence, to show that it most likely isn't due to man's activities. And then I read, the NASA website and all these, sites that are towing the consensus about the issue. And I say, well, how do you address this? Like, and there are a lot of things that they just don't address. Like, the when you go looking for in these papers, like what the evidence of human influence on this is, there really isn't. The evidence is like based on ice core samples, which is not necessarily representative because you're not taking into consideration what is it called, off gassing or whatever. Like you're drilling down into ice that's been compacted under high pressure for thousands of years, drilling into it and then immediately like pulling it up there and then saying that this is representative. Like there's a lot that happens in that situation that isn't really being factored in to a lot of the stuff that I've read, at least, where, obviously if some contents are under high pressure, like shit is going to compact, sink down to the bottom, and it's going to become more concentrated in certain areas. And then when you depressurize that, it doesn't seem like they're taking into account what happens when you're doing that. They're just pulling it up and going, this is demonstrative of exactly what shit was like back then, which we don't know if that's exactly what it was like. And of course, there's people who are like, oh, well, the most common thing that I'll hear is like, well, there's more ice in the Antarctic right now, and it's than there's ever been, which is not true. People mistake sea ice for glacial ice and land ice and stuff like that. And when the glacial ice melts, naturally it causes more ice in the sea around that area. So just because that is expanding doesn't mean that shit isn't warming. And I think shit is for sure warming. The question is how much it's a natural process, how much it's a celestial process, and how much it's influenced by the shit we're doing. And I think one of the things that people jump on is that if you even try and put the idea out there that it isn't due to man, that you think that people should just be able to do whatever they want and pollute the environment because there's no I mean, and
That's a good point.
that's not like, it's not the same, I think that we need to stop polluting shit. We need to like stop cutting down forests and rainforests and, dumping waste into water supplies and fracking and all this shit. We shouldn't be doing that. But I'm not convinced that it's because that climate change is due to mostly human actions. I think this happens a lot. You know, if you look at history, the shit happens relatively frequently. So, you know, in my mind, there's no solid evidence that points to this is man-made. But, you know, again, I don't have a solid opinion on it. I'm willing to hear what anybody has to say. But based on looking at both sides, you know, I see some things where people are making some sense, you know? And there are some people who point to the fact that, you know, we've been taking atmospheric measurements of like carbon dioxide in the atmosphere for over 100 years, and those readings from the past, you can go back and look, they vary drastically based on location, year, you know. So to say, oh well, this used to be the baseline and now we're here, doesn't take into account that there are wildly fluctuating like things even, you know, 150 years ago. So I don't know how we got onto global warming, but talking about like the effects of technology that we don't really see. And we've kind of been talking on the podcast before about like the social implications of technology and how interacting with people virtually and having these devices at our side at all times, where we can, you know, be tuned into a virtual reality pretty much all the time, affects the way we go to shows, the way we interact with people, the way we consume media. It's interesting to see how this shit plays out, because I was always like the kind of person that was very like into technology and advancement and sci-fi, you know, and to sort of like get that wake up call where it's like, well, the like Asimov science fiction, you know, was naive in a lot of ways, like in terms of the deeper implications of technology, you know. And that's something that like as someone who's into social constructs and watching people interact and the way dynamics change, that's going to be one of the craziest things to me. And that's the hardest thing to like figure out where it's going. Like you can sort of, I've made this like comparison to a few of my friends before, that all these movies that you look back, like sci-fi movies and books and all this shit, they were able to predict like certain things, like, you know, Star Trek predicted the iPad, you know, a long time ago. And, you know, the internet was predicted by, a lot of people say William Gibson, but, you know, I think by that point, the government had something similar to the internet already, but it wasn't public knowledge. But anyway, so there are these sort of big things that science fiction is able to predict. But then the difference between the reality of it and that is like the simplest, most like unpredictable thing, like texting. Nobody predicted texting. Like all the sci-fi books thought that we would be video phoning.
Oh yeah,
and it's crazy.
It's so taboo to call someone or to video them. I got a FaceTime request yesterday. I was like, no, why? Text me. Just text me. Don't do that. Ew.
No, but none of these people predicted texting. Like the idea that someone would rather like send a very simple string of words typed out rather than talking face to face with someone or like calling them on the phone. Nobody predicted that. And it's weird. Like that's the kind of shit that's so interesting to me. What is it about our the way we work that makes us want to like not really interact with each other if we don't have to?
Yeah, I have no idea.
And that's something that people did predict. Asimov, I think it was it The Naked Sun? That was, I don't know if you read Asimov's books, but there was one book he did, I think it's called The Naked Sun, where it's a planet of people that basically everyone lives by themselves, and there's like really long distances between everyone, and like a single planet will have like 300 people on it, and they just have these armies of robots that do everything for them, and they live in these little, confined, not confined, but nice big houses, but they never interact face to face with people. Like, it's all through video holograms and shit like that. But no one touches each other. No one even comes face to face with each other. So people were picking up on that even back in the day, but nobody realized that texting was going to be the primary form of communication for future generations, which is crazy because, I'm in my early 30s, and I know I would rather text somebody than talk on the phone with them most of the time. But people younger than me, like, they didn't grow up talking to people on the phone, so they are just like, they don't even comprehend why you wouldn't just text somebody.
This is true.
And I just wonder, like, I don't know, when you were a kid, did you like sit on the phone for hours talking to your friends, like in your room?
Yeah, I had the landline. And,
yeah.
You couldn't use it if you needed to go on the internet.
Yeah.
We had 56K back in the day. Yeah, no speed dial, so you had to remember people's phone numbers. Now I can't remember anyone's phone number.
No.
I remember my grandmother's phone number and my mom's phone number. And mine. Those are the 3 numbers I remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know mine, my wife's, and my childhood home phone number.
Yeah, actually,
nothing
I remember,
else. And I know the number to the club, obviously. It's pretty easy.
I'm really curious how it happened, the transition. I guess maybe kids at school not wanting to get caught, wanting to be on their phone. I mean, they did make certain phones like the Sidekick. That was pretty much just like a texting machine.
Yeah.
Made AOL, Instant Messenger. AIM
Yeah.
became a thing. Yeah, because when AIM came out, I think that's when I stopped talking on the phone. That's when I started to just type to people. I have great typing skills now because of that, by the way. Thank you, AOL.
Yeah. It's so fucking weird when you see someone who doesn't know how to type.
Yeah, it is really weird.
It's like the craziest thing. I can't wrap my brain around it.
I don't think I've seen that since like the 7th grade.
No, I mean, I've seen people, I had a boss for a long time that I would like look at him at his computer, and he would seriously be like, with one finger on each key. I'm like, you've been doing this job for like 20 years. And you've been using a computer for probably, at least 15 of that. How could you not like figure out typing? I don't know. Maybe he didn't do the Mavis Beacon program back in the day.
Maybe he just likes it.
I don't know.
Maybe that's just what he likes, the 2-finger method. My dad types like that too, actually.
But then there are kids who text really fucking fast. Like maybe they don't even know how to type like that on the computer, but on their phone, they can fucking bang that shit out. Which to me, I'm sure to them, I look like the guy typing with one finger. Like,
probably, yeah.
I'm sitting here like...
I can text pretty quickly, but I still see some kids with like one hand doing the one thumb thing. They're still typing out faster than me.
That's the one thing that annoys me about texting, is that I can't do it that fast. Because I'm like, I'll start typing and then I know 9 times out of 10 the word is going to come up as a suggestion, so maybe I don't have to type the whole thing. I can just type the beginning, and then it's like, oh no, it hasn't come up yet. Let me type one more. And then it ends up taking like twice the amount of time because I'm waiting for the suggestion.
You're waiting for spell check. You should really just get rid of spell check.
That's true.
But I never will. It makes things faster.
I don't know. There's this weird, I don't know what, I think someone's coming in here.
We have a ghost here.
Oh, it's the ice probably. There's this weird thing about how we perceive advancement in a lot of ways, like, and how, I don't know, I think you talk to anyone and they would say that we live in a very advanced society right now, you know, which, yeah, we have smartphones and laptops and wireless technology and shit like that. We have shit like Wikipedia, which is, you know, insane when you really think about it. But people are so disconnected to the things that are happening around them and happening in the world at large. And like with such a wealth of information out there, for me, it's like becomes easier to see that shit, like how things are connected and like how history takes place and shit like that. But it seems like people are less aware of that shit than ever. You know, a certain kind of person, I would say the majority of people are that way, where even though they have access to these resources, they are less informed than ever, which is crazy to me. I don't know, like there's people that, and I certainly understand not wanting to like constantly be tuned into this kind of shit, but like, you know, there are people that I see the whole like Israel Palestine thing that's been happening for the last month or so. It just drives me nuts when I still hear people parroting back shit that is like obviously propaganda. And I'm like, you have a computer, you have the internet, like how are you still like being hoodwinked by this shit? Like, you should see it for what it is. Like, you have the ability. What's not clicking? I don't know. I just don't get it. It's very, very troubling to me.
It's just easier to repeat back what you hear.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever just said a complete lie to someone and looked really confident about it and seen them go, "Oh yeah." Yeah. It's just easier for people to not think about it.
I mean, I don't do that because I'm an honest person.
But no, but you could, is the thing.
Maybe being an asshole, you're very well versed in that. I don't know. But
I am very well versed in that. It's easy to just straight lie to people.
Yeah. And it's sometimes it's easier to just acquiesce than to like press the issue. But I don't know. I always thought that like having more access to information and being more connected and having the ability to see the web of intricacy that connects things would be ultimately beneficial and would facilitate change in the world. And when the internet came about, I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be revolutionary, and it has been somewhat, but it's just crazy how quickly and seemingly like just all-encompassing the man has just throttled that, you know? And that's without even doing the shit that they really wanted to do, like, you know, pass like the like SOPA and PIPA and all that shit that was happening like a year ago. Mm-hmm. You know, they weren't technically able to push that shit through, but the result is the same. Like, people are less inclined to use these tools in ways that are going to actually change shit than they should be, I think. I don't know. I don't like how I always get into depressing shit on this show. So
you do.
Let me change the subject a little bit, at least for a while. We'll talk about we'll talk deep thoughts, obviously.
We'll talk about
many times, but
there's so many depressing things happening.
There is so much shit going on right now, and it's really hard to like tune it out. And that is something that like kind of has me really bummed out, to be honest. Like the fact that I work in an industry and my job essentially forces me to be on social media. You know, I can't not have a Facebook page because I need to run our Facebook page. And if I don't have one, then I can't do that. So, and that is kind of like a cop out in a way. But at the same time, it's like I look at my feed every day, sometimes not even every day. And like, especially after that story came out about Facebook experimenting on people's emotional states when exposed to certain news items. Do you remember that a few weeks ago? For those listening that may not know about this, basically Facebook did a lot of experimentation with people's news feeds in which they presented them with certain news stories or gave preference to certain news stories that would evoke a positive or negative emotional response in the person, and then watched their behavior. Like, what does this person do? Like, what actions do they take because of this emotional trigger or whatever? Which is creepy, but, you know, totally logical considering, like, the way shit is progressing. But anyway, like, ever since then, I can't really help but look at Facebook in a different way. Like, not necessarily that it's nefarious, that there's someone behind a curtain saying, I'm going to make people depressed. You know, but the fact is, like, you do get fucking fucked up by, like, looking at all this shit. And for me, there's so many people on my friends list that are activists and people that are into social causes and shit like that. And so all day, every day, it's like, you know, another like unarmed black teenager shot by police, like another day of, you know, children being bombed in Gaza and, you know, Syrian fucking rebels turning into the Islamic State and going in and fucking up, you know, large portion of the Middle East and acting crazy. Russia, like, on the borders of Ukraine and all this shit going on. And, like, it's just fucking, it sucks you in. And it puts you in this headspace, or at least me, where, like, I have a fixation with knowing, like I said, I'm interested in social constructs. I'm interested in behavior and shit like that. So for me, like, wanting to, like, peer into that and see how people are reacting to it, see what people are saying, like what is the sentiment, what is the story from this person's perspective, what about this person, let me read like pro-Israel, let me read pro-Palestine, let me like consume all this stuff so I can sort of start to understand it and digest it. But in the process, I'm just fucking myself up, like to the point where it's affecting my life, and I'm like in a depressed state because all this shit's happening around me. And on one hand, I like wish that I could tune out of it, but on the other hand, I feel like I should be depressed. Like this is the reality of life right now. Like shit is fucked up and it needs to change, and it's not going to change unless people are fucked up by it, you know? So it's hard living in this like this world where the information is just there, whether you want to see it or not. And, you know, you tend to focus on the shit that's fucked up. At least, you know, I tend to, even though I try not to, you know?
So what do? You just pretend it's not there?
No, I mean, I let it fuck me up. I like
that's
think about it like I'm...
You either let it fuck you up or you pretend it's not there, and both aren't very both aren't very
yeah,
productive, I guess.
No, I mean, neither is the ideal circumstance or response, but like obviously there's a lot of shit that I can't do anything about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's effective to turn into one of those people that's like, you know, just pointing out all the shit that's fucked up. Like, my approach is like, if I don't understand what's going on, like, I don't feel like I have the ability to like tell somebody else how to feel about it, you know? And I don't think that outrage for outrage's sake is like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people who perpetrate that. Like, there are certain friends on my Facebook page that like, I don't want to hide them from my feed or like defriend them, but at the same time it's like every single thing is like jumping straight to like, you know, the negativity of a situation, or jumping to a conclusion, or like propping up something to like further their own agenda of like what sort of like rationalizing their belief system and shit like that. I don't know, but I don't think it's healthy, but I just let it fuck with me, and I'll be thinking about this shit probably more than I should, or more than, you know, most people do. And it affects me. Makes me sad, makes me like act like a jerk sometimes, makes me like have anxiety. And I just like, the part of me that's into conspiracy theories and like manipulation and shit like that thinks like this is exactly what somebody wants, you know? Whether or not they're doing it or not, this is exactly what some people want to be happening, is for everyone to be feeling like I'm feeling right now. So it's like this weird push and pull where like, I want to be tuned in, I want to know what's happening, I want to like be able to see what's going on in the world. But then I feel like I'm also, you know, part of that system that is putting people in this crazy headspace.
It's exactly how I feel too. And so sometimes I'll go out and try to look for something good,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ends up turning into something really depressing.
Yeah.
For example, the other day, let's see, I got really sad because, yeah, on the Twitter feed, someone wrote about how, like their food order was messed up, and right above it was like 12 children dead in Gaza, and just like the juxtaposition between the two really bummed me out, like even more than just the 12 children dead. So then I don't know, I thought, well, I should just look something up that's like really cool, cute, and for some reason, you're Eddie from Frasier, the dog.
I never watched Frasier.
Oh well, there's a cute little dog, the Jack Russell Terrier.
Okay.
His name is the actor's name is Moose.
Okay.
He was also my dog Skip, and so I decided to read his Wikipedia page because I thought it'd be cute, and then I just read about his death, and it was really sad, and and he apparently, before he died of old age, natural causes, but he died of before he died he had dementia and he was deaf, and just picturing a little cute little dog with dementia was really bummed me out.
That's
his son's
fucking
name,
tragic.
Yeah, his son's name was Enzo, and he died of cancer. So sometimes life is just bleak. But so what's good? What's good in the world?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess somewhat good is, well, good tinged with bad. You went to Outside Lands this year?
I did go to Outside Lands. I was
or
there.
You attempted at least to go to Outside Lands?
I attempted to go to Outside Lands. I had tickets for all 3 days. And I went and I saw Warpaint. And I saw Michael Cronin. And then I got food poisoning. And I had to leave immediately. And I did not get to go to Saturday or Sunday.
So did you pay for these tickets?
I did.
How much did you pay, are you willing to say?
I don't remember. I forget how much general admission tickets were.
The shit ain't cheap, I'll tell you that much.
It's not cheap, yeah. It's cheaper than Coachella. I think after like service fees and all those other bullshit fees, it's like $300 or something like that.
Okay.
It's definitely more than $250. I honestly forget.
So you paid about, let's call it $300. And then the price of a burrito.
Yeah, the burrito is what got me sick.
So not only did you pay for the full 3 days of the festival, and you only got to see like 3 or 4 people.
2.
2?
Yep.
Literally 2. That's all you saw.
The funny thing too is Friday, I really only wanted to see those 2 bands.
Okay.
Warpaint and Michael Cronin. Everyone else that I wanted to see, pretty much on Saturday. Everybody else that I wanted to see was pretty much on Saturday.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. And a few people scattered on Sunday, I think. And I had plans to leave Outside Lands on Friday a little bit early to catch a show at the Chapel, which I did not make it to.
That's tragic, my friend.
Yes. Yeah, but it happens. I'm just glad to be alive. There was seriously a point where I thought I was going to die. I was laying on the bathroom floor thinking, this is it. This is it. I should call my mom right now. It gave me a fever. It was pretty bad. I was like looking up WebMD to make sure that like it was food poisoning, cuz I don't know.
That can be like the most dangerous thing to do, by the way.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. You're like, "Oh, I have a kind of a dry throat. I should check WebMD."
Cancer.
Cancer. Yes.
Cancer. Everything is cancer.
You have cancer. Probably. I mean,
well, you know.
I probably have melanoma or something.
You've been fucking around with that Wi-Fi, dog?
Yeah. I sleep with a router under my pillow. Right under it. My router is my pillow. I just curl up next to it. It's nice and warm. You know?
So, you didn't see Kanye?
No, I didn't. God. But to be fair, I really want to see Kanye, like, post-graduation. Like, right after that album.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
Like, after that, I'm not... Like, what was Heartbreaker? What was that?
808s and Heartbreak?
Yeah, I wasn't
Some
into
shit
that.
like that.
I really like his first album, his second album, too. And other than that, I love the character that is Kanye West. Not so much his music since graduation.
I'm not a Kanye fan, to be honest with you. I mean, I liked his early shit when he was producing, you know, the tracks that he did with Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're dope. By the way, kids don't say dope anymore. So, like, when you
I'm bringing
hear
it back.
someone say dope, you know that they're an old fuck like me.
No, I'm bringing it back.
How old are you?
25.
I guess you can say you're bringing it back.
Yes.
But I don't know. Kanye is I don't know. I'm going into rant mode again. Sorry, guys, but this is something that drives me fucking crazy.
He'll find you though if you go into rants about Kanye.
Come at me, bro.
Can we have Kanye on the next show?
You know, I had the option to get him on here, and I was just like, you know, it's not quite right for what I'm going for. No, I mean, Kanye, if you want to come on here, I will fucking, you know, we can verbally spar. You know, I'm a little slow, but I'm sharp-witted. But I don't know. To me, it drives me crazy, the fact that like this mainstream like music culture has invaded San Francisco. And it's it's mainstream culture in general, but it drives me up the fucking wall. Like, the fact that just this last week, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye West, and, you know, all the other people at Outside Lands, which, you know, obviously aren't all mainstream artists, but there were a fair amount of mainstream artists. But just using those few as an example, like, it's just weird to me. It's like counterintuitive to the culture of San Francisco to like have all that shit happening. Like, when I used to work at the Fillmore, we would have artists like that would come through on tours and could not sell out that venue. And the Fillmore is not huge. You know, if you're an artist like Snoop Dogg that is used to playing amphitheaters and arenas and shit like that, to not be able to sell out the Fillmore is like insanity. It boggles your mind. This person's on TV every day. Everyone knows their name. A child knows who this person is. And they couldn't sell out a show at the Fillmore in San Francisco because people just weren't into that shit. Like, they would rather go see, you know, an obscure indie rock band or a garage rock band or, you know, go to an Anticon show than go see fucking Snoop Dogg. And that has changed so fucking fast. It like turned on a dime, it seems. And now it's like that's what people want, is they want that mainstream lifestyle that is portrayed in TV and movies and music and shit like that. It's crazy to me. I don't understand it. And I don't like it. You know? Nothing against people that, you know, are into these people's music or whatever. It's just like, you're buying into this fucking machine. And like, I think in a lot of ways, you know, it's a machine. Like, but there are some people who think that Beyonce is like is like the second coming of Jesus. Like, she released this album and nobody knew about it. And there's videos for every song. And it's like, but it sucks. Like, I've listened to it and it's fucking awful. She can't sing. Her lyrics are shit. Like, it literally sounds like she was making it up. Like, that's how nobody knew about it. She just fucking made it up, recorded the shit like over the course of a weekend, and released it, and you're fucking lapping it up. It's crazy. I don't like it. And I don't like that the city that used to be about counterculture and weird people coming here to like find other weird people like them is being turned into this, like, you know, a glorified mall, basically. And this, you know I said we were going to get off the depressing shit, but, you know, I told you I'm fucking depressed. This shit is really getting to me. But an article came out yesterday in the Chronicle and SF Gate about the quote-unquote housing crisis in San Francisco, and its effect on bars and nightlife and clubs and venues. And, you know, maybe there are some people out there who are listening to this who are not from San Francisco or not living in San Francisco, so I'll just briefly let you know what the scene is like right now. But yeah, there's a quote-unquote housing crisis going on, which basically means... Sorry, my little camera fell, so I have to readjust this shit. But basically what this housing crisis means is there are a lot of people who want to live in San Francisco, and there's not enough apartments to rent. And so the price is being driven up like crazy. If you want to rent a place in San Francisco, you better have a shit ton of money, because rent is too damn high. And then on top of that, the competition for the available units is so high, where that even if you have perfect credit, even if you have a great job and make a lot of money, someone can come in, offer the person like double the rent, and just fucking outdo you, and you stand no chance. So, but all these people that are, I'm not going to say all, but a majority of these people that are that are renting these places and contributing to this quote-unquote crisis are people that, a lot of them work outside of San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, or, you know, maybe Marin or some shit like that, but mostly, you know, Peninsula, working for tech companies and shit. And they don't want to live in those shitty cities, so they want to live where shit is cool. So they want to have an apartment in San Francisco. It's understandable. And San Francisco has always, as long as I've been here, the rent was high. You know, higher than you want it to be, because there's a demand. It's a small city. and it's a world famous city and everybody wants to live here. But it's been exacerbated by the fact that there are these people coming in with lots of money, and they essentially are able to, use it to get what they want. So in response to this crisis, the city of San Francisco believes what they need to do to alleviate this problem is build more housing. If there's more housing available, then the prices would go down. That's the logic. But the side effect is that they're building these new condos and apartment units, luxury high-rises in places that once were sort of off the beaten path, like here at Slim's. This Soma area, for the most part, was, auto mechanics and warehouses and shit like that for a long time. There are a few patches of residential areas around, but for the most part, that's what it's been. And so clubs have been here on 11th Street for decades, and it's been an entertainment district pretty much, although not, zoned as that necessarily. But when you start building condo units in proximity to these places, the people that pay $1 million don't want to have to hear drunk people fucking, screaming and puking outside their loft that they just spent an arm and a leg on. And so they call the police and they make noise complaints. And the law in San Francisco is such that one person, if they're pissed off enough, can shut down a business. Like, regardless of how many people don't want that to happen, one person can do it. If they complain enough, if they shake up enough shit, they can shut down a business. So there was an article in the Chronicle about the fact that the Elbow Room, for one, the owners of that building had submitted a plan to the city late last year about possibly turning it into condos, and closing that venue and turning it into condos. And there are other venues where that's happened. A venue that, what's it called? Kokomo or something like that. There was like a Latin dance club, salsa dance kind of place, recently was shut down for a similar reason. And, we've had places like Café du Nord closed last year. There's a place over here that for a while was called VSF, and then it was called Caliente, and that closed 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been sitting empty ever since, because the new laws are that you can't open a bar or venue within 200 feet of a residence, and that place happens to be 198 feet from a residence. So, or maybe 196, but just shy of the limit. So even though people want to do something with it, they want to open up, I think it's Heclina or whoever started Tranny Shack, wanted to take over that place and, make it a cool bar and have gay dance parties and drag shows and all that kind of stuff. And they can't do it because they can't get a liquor permit because it's 196 feet away from a residence. So there's a real danger in this city of having the art and culture just completely pushed out, And I've mentioned on this podcast before about the situation that we dealt with here at Slim's, where we had a neighbor that bought a $1 million condo about a block away that called noise complaints incessantly, even on days where we weren't open. And the long and short of it is, we spent, I think, $250,000 on soundproofing. We had to respond to police every time this woman would call. She tried to, or did, place one of our managers and another one of our employees under citizen's arrest. Like, crazy shit. Yeah.
Wow.
And all this, you know, if we didn't run the music hall also, to where we can kind of offset things you know, we have a little bit of backup because we've diversified a little bit. If we didn't have that, we would be shut down, because eventually the problem was that there's a clause on a lot of the alcohol permits that were issued back in the day that's stated that you can't hear any sound outside of the venue whatsoever, which is pretty much impossible. But at the time that they signed it, there was nothing here, so it didn't matter. Like, you know, they let it slide because the auto repair shop is closed at night. You know, nobody's here to complain, so what does it matter? So that was like the hang up that was allowing this woman to have a leg to stand on. And so the ABC, who is the Alcohol Beverage Control, they couldn't just let us have no punishment. So after a lot of back and forth and a lot of soundproofing, a lot of people coming and doing measurements and readings and shit like that, eventually they removed that clause from the permit, but they couldn't just let us off with no punishment. You know, even though spending that much money and going through all that shit is kind of a punishment. They couldn't just do nothing. So they suspended our permit for 11 days, our alcohol permit. We couldn't sell alcohol for 11 days, which for a lot of businesses, you're done. You know, we make a lot of our money from the bar. You know, most of the people don't really understand how the business works, and I would say that a lot of the ticket sales end up going to pay for the performers, and maybe a little bit subsidizes staffing costs or something, or rent or something like that. But where we actually, you know, make most of the money that goes into the business and pays the employees and shit like that is at the bar. So to not have that income would destroy most businesses. Because we're all ages and because we have another venue, we could survive. You know, we put on shows for kids and stuff like that. So, you know, we kept busy, we kept employing people, but a lot of businesses couldn't stay open after that. And that's what's happening. A lot of places are going under. There is a land grab for any space that they can build housing on. So part of this story in the Chronicle was about the possibility of one of our city's most essential venues, I would say, bottom of the hill, being threatened by the fact that the old Corovan warehouses across the street from them are going to be demolished and turned into like over 300 units of housing.
Really?
Yeah. And knowing what has happened to other places, this is obviously a concern for the business. Like, what's going to happen to bottom of the hill if all of a sudden you have, you know, 400 more units of people living right across the street? You know, that's 400 more chances for noise complaints. That's like, it's risky. But it doesn't seem to be like put on the shoulders of the developers to adequately soundproof these things, taking into consideration that there's a club across the street. They feel like they only have to do what the city's bare minimum. So it's a really crazy situation that we're in right now. And it's a side effect of this sort of whitewashing of culture overall, but, you know, specifically we're talking about San Francisco here. It's like the whitewashing of what was once a relatively diverse and counterculture focused mecca into something that is just like everything else. You know, if you are a person that moves into a neighborhood where there's a long established institution there, and you don't do your due diligence ahead of time to know that that's what you're getting yourself into, I don't think you should have a leg to stand on. I don't think you should be able to come in and say, this neighborhood has to change because now I'm here and I don't like this business that long predated me. It's crazy. But we, you know, have instilled this power to certain people. And I don't know, it's something that hits close to home for me, obviously, working in the music business and being an artist myself. Like, knowing that I can't live in San Francisco. Not that I want to. I love Oakland. That's where I prefer to live. But even if I wanted to live in the city, I couldn't. And I have a full-time job. I work for, two San Francisco institutions. And I still couldn't live here. It's crazy. But I don't know. I try not to fixate on this shit, but I just end up fixating on it. There's no way around it for me. I hate it. But to me, it's all a part of this same cycle of the mainstreamification of culture, and that everyone sort of wants this same thing rather than wanting quirky, unique things. They want all the creature comforts of living in the suburbs, but they also want the convenience to be able to go to a bar down the street. They don't seem to understand how these two things are in opposition to each other. I don't know. You don't live in the city, do you?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
oh, that's right. You live out
Sunset.
I thought you were in the East Bay.
No, I've been trying. I've been looking for a place in Oakland for a while. Just hasn't panned out. Things keep falling through. I've been trying to move for a while. Finding housing anywhere is hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Anywhere in the Bay, at least. And I mean, finding a place in Oakland is easier than finding a place in San Francisco, but it's not that much easier. It's still hard.
No, I mean it's
getting more expensive too.
Yeah, the whole Bay Area is seeing the ripple effect of this. And in Oakland, we're seeing a lot of people from San Francisco move over here. And, it's not necessarily always a good thing, and there's this mentality that, that it's like, well, you should be thankful that people are choosing to come in and spend money in your community and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, to some people, money isn't the be all end all, there are more important things than money. And to not factor that into when you're determining whether something is, progressive or not. Mm-hmm. I don't know, just because you're bringing quote unquote wealth into an area doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best thing to happen, because you're just like with the Wi-Fi and shit where we're mm-hmm. the unseen consequence of that is that you are fucking it up for somebody else, and it just seems like people just simply don't give a fuck, we seem to get away from the whole Reaganomics mindset of oh well, I've got mine, so fuck you. I thought we were getting away from that, and the 90s seemed to be about getting away from that to an extent. And it just fucking came back so fast with a vengeance. I just don't know what to make of it now.
They're tearing down a Candlestick too, right?
Yeah, they are. I think
I think that already started.
I don't know if it started, but I know that. Well, I think Paul McCartney is the last show there.
That was yesterday, I think.
Oh, was it
I think
yesterday?
it was last night, yeah. So Paul McCartney.
I mean, that's, to be honest with you, that's a long time coming, but still. You know, and I don't want to be one of those people that is just like lamenting the changes, because like obviously shit changes, and that's not always a bad thing, but there's natural change that is dictated by, you know, supply and demand, things like that. And then there's like what I view as like more manipulative change.
Yeah.
And, you know, the gentrification debate is a big debate in the Bay Area for the last few years. And to me, that's the core of it, is that it's a more manipulative type of change that has sinister undertones, you know?
Definitely.
And it's not saying that shit, you know, couldn't use a change. But at the same time, it's like, you know, are there neighborhoods that have a lot of crackheads in them that, you know, maybe could be cleaner and more presentable for people? Yeah, but like, do we want to be the kind of people that just, you know, doesn't see all those people that are crackheads as people? They're just like a hurdle in the way of progress, and fuck them, like get them the fuck out of here. You know, where do they go? Who knows? Who cares? We need to get a McDonald's in here fast. Like, I don't think that's the way to be. But, you know, I'm an idealistic, you know, I don't know. I don't even call myself liberal anymore. Like, I always heard from people like, oh, you know, you become more Republican as you get older. And that isn't really true. I definitely am not becoming a Republican. But I see a lot of the, like, fucked up hypocrisy in the liberal mindset that I think is counterproductive. And in a lot of ways, like, fucking digs us deeper into a hole. But, I don't know. I don't like being this way. Like, and I don't know if you think about, like, oh, shit.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could have sworn. Oh, Brendan's calling.
Oh, okay.
Should I pick it up?
Yeah, go for it. You can talk to him. One of our other guests. So, if you didn't know, we film 2 episodes back to back and then, you know, stagger the release. So, got some guests coming for the next episode. I think they might be here right now. But, I don't know, guys. I'm really struggling in my life right now, and like with the cognitive dissonance of like being involved in this culture and feeling helpless for it, you know, feeling like I can't do I can't do anything that makes me feel good, you know, like I can't live the life that I want to live. Is he here or what? No. Okay. All right. So we're not in danger anymore, but I was just talking about how like I feel like I am having this cognitive dissonance in my life where like it feels impossible to live a life that is going to make me happy. You know, like it doesn't seem possible. Like and I'm not one of those people that just wants to be like zoning out on a couch, like playing video games all day and just like wasting away as a bum. Although I feel like that's what people hear, you know, when whenever someone talks about shit like this, because I don't want to do that. Like, I'm an artist. I want to like contribute to society. I have shit to say. I have shit that I want to express. I have, you know, projects upon projects that I could be doing, like enough work to fill an entire lifetime. And I want to do that shit. But like, it feels impossible. If I, you know, wanted to, you know, I don't feel like I could make a decent living drawing comic books, you know, like, which is something I would love to do, you know. My ideal situation would be being a reclusive artist who fucking lives in his own little world, does his shit, and sends it in the mail to whatever publisher, and, you know, that's it. Like, I don't want to have to be on the grind and, like, doing a bunch of pointless shit so that I can justify a paycheck.
You want to be Bill Watterson.
Who's Bill Watterson?
The author of Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know.
No, I totally understand.
It seems like you could do that at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I mean, J.D. Salinger or whatever was like a hermit. You know, I don't know if he was like a Ted Kaczynski hermit, or if he was like, you know, just a guy who lived in a cabin in a remote part of the country. But, you know, you could write books and get them published and be, you know, well known and be able to sell enough to probably sustain yourself and, you know, have a decent life and provide something for your children or whatever. And it seems like now you have to work 2 jobs. You have to like be working all the time. Mm-hmm. There's like the tendency to feel like we have to even be working beyond when we're at work, you know? I have my work email on my phone. You know, I'm checking that shit at all hours. I'm like looking at our Twitter feed, retweeting shit and all. You know, it doesn't stop. And I was reading this story, I think it was a Vice article not too long ago about the 4-hour workday. And really it was about the history of the labor movement and like the people that fought to get the 8-hour workday, you know, and what those people thought was that like as technology increased, so would the possibility of leisure time. Like people would have to work less because technology would solve a lot of the problems. And they envisioned that eventually the 8-hour workday would turn into a 6-hour workday or a 4-hour workday, and like you would be able to spend more time with your family, raising your kids, you know, doing the shit that makes life bearable and that is important to life. And at some point that got like flipped around and our values changed, and now it's like we're sort of backsliding into, you know, the world before people fought for this 8-hour workday. It's like, I think now if you only work 8 hours, you know, people think you're lazy. It's like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. Like 9 out of 10 people, I think, go to their job and they aren't working at 100% the whole day. You know, a lot of people are fucking around, you know, because it's not necessary. Like, you could do the work that you were doing in half the time and probably do it better. But instead, we know we have to be here for a certain amount of time, so we're fucking taking a little longer on the lunch break. We're coming in and looking at Facebook and, you know, reading some news stories and shit like that. But we're just wasting away our lives. Fucking, it's depressing to me. And I know I'm probably just in a funk right now, but like, you know, this is the kind of shit I think about all the time. Like, how do you escape it?
I think this is what everyone thinks about, though.
Really?
I think if they're the people who are perfectly content with being in those, the urban jungles, they call them, and
Yeah.
living the techie life, I guess, and going to their nine to five, and I don't know, doing all the stuff that society says you're supposed to do. But then there's people who are like us and are very unsatisfied. And like for me, I work in the sciences and the arts, so I can either be satisfied with my lifestyle, which like like my housing, things like that, and get a nice fat paycheck or whatever with the sciences, and be really unsatisfied with what I produce, or I can do the opposite, live in a really tiny shack and be stoked about everything that I'm doing all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, but also, I don't, I don't know. I also deal with like, will I ever be happy? Like really happy? What? But then what is being happiness? What is being happy? Is happiness just like moment to moment, like that
Yeah.
cookie, that orgasm, that like that life is sort of just a series of failures strung together by brief moments of success, I guess, maybe something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way people tend to look at it, and maybe we've been conditioned to look at shit like that. I I hate it though. And it really makes me feel like rage inside in a
Oh
lot of
no!
ways. Like
Should start a punk band.
just the fact that like there doesn't seem to be a way out. You know, it seems like there was a point in time where, you know, if you felt the way that I felt, you could pick up and, move to Thailand or some shit and like live a modest life and check out of that bullshit and, work at a bar or, do some, whatever, like whatever you had to do, sell fucking fish snacks on the beach, like whatever, and live a relatively peaceful, slow life. And I don't know if that exists anymore. Like to me, I feel like there's no escape. Like the the internet has created this great connection between people all over the world, but it also has facilitated this, form of globalism that has encompassed almost every part of the world. Where it's like if you don't believe in what has become of the American, value system and the way this country operates, you can't really escape it. Like, you want to, think of a remote place that you can go and live. Obviously, you can't go to Antarctica or some shit like that, but like, South America. South America, like, the U.S. has its fucking hands all in that shit. And there's crazy, like, conflicts going on in a lot of these places. Like, the global financial crisis, quote unquote, has affected, like, so many places. And I mean, I think about all the places that I wanted to travel as a kid. And it's like, oh, me and my wife will talk about, like, going on vacation. And so we'll throw around shit like, oh, well, I really want to go to Egypt. It's like, okay. Riding in the streets, fucking ousted a dictator, military
Yeah.
regime in charge. I don't know if that's the best place to go right now. Oh, I always wanted to see Greece. Fucking riots in the streets, people throwing Molotov cocktails at each other, neo-Nazis coming into political power. Yeah, I don't know if that's the best place to go right now. Oh, Japan. I've always wanted to go to
I've always
Japan.
wanted to go to Japan too.
Radiated, nuclear fallout,
I'll deal with that.
tsunamis left and right. It's just crazy. Spain, fucking crazy riots and shit. Like, it seems like it's getting harder and harder to escape the tendrils of this monster. And I don't know what the answer to it is. Like, we talked about when we were going over the whole Wi-Fi thing. Like, if it came out tomorrow, 100% sure that this causes cancer and you're gonna get cancer if you continue to do this, would we change? I don't know if we can change that aspect of shit. Like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like, how do we go from this sort of global capitalist society, which is really more like a global, like, oligarchy? Like, how do we escape from that? I have no fucking idea. It seems impossible. And that to me is depressing. It's just fueling my, like, my depressive state. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thinking this. So, like,
you're definitely not
you know,
the only one.
a lot of times I'm like, you know, all right, Chris, shut the fuck up, stop complaining. But I know a lot of people feel like this, and a lot of people probably don't have the ability to talk to other people that feel that way. And so they get sucked into their shit and get sucked into their depression.
I feel like this is the perfect room to make people think about it. We should just sit them down in the corner.
Right in the Slim's dressing room.
And say, hey, let's talk about the world. Maybe get them high.
That definitely helps. But
we should make artists cry. Get Prince in here, make him cry.
I don't know. I mean, I feel really bad about this shit because I hate to be like the bummer. Like, you know, my wife often refers to me as Grumpy Bear because, you know, she'll just like Grumpy Bears in the house, like, because it's hard for me to like let go and like just be in the moment and enjoy some shit. Like, so in a way, I'm always cognizant of like the shit that is fucking with me, you know? And I don't like indulging that side of myself. And like, you know, I feel like the more you indulge it, the more of a grip it has on you. But I don't know, it's complicated because you can't just pretend it doesn't exist. Like, that's not the answer to me. So I don't know. I often like will try and channel shit into like doing art or whatever, or, you know, try and tune out for a bit of time and play a video game or something like that. But ultimately that doesn't really solve anything. So it's tough. But I don't know. But you're telling me that you feel something like this as well.
Yeah, I'm usually depressed. I mean, you listen to my music; it's pretty sad. Yeah, but I think there at a point comes where you really have to. It's not so much pretending that it's not going on, but have to sort of almost like when you're exercising and you're in a lot of pain, and you just have to sort of get through it. You have to like pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
Or pretend, for the lack of a better word, just like put it somewhere else, you know, to get through it.
And
so you can enjoy,
move past it, and you feel better in the end. But...
yeah, it's not even like moving past it or forgetting about it. It's just putting it somewhere else to enjoy the moment. So that way, I mean, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else around you and do anything about anything, really.
Yeah. This is true, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about existence, like what it means to be anything. What's the purpose? And it's like I can either spend my whole life thinking about it, and obviously I'll never know. No one will ever know, and I can die trying, or I can just accept and bow and enjoy my life, or try to enjoy my life at least. But then it's like, I don't know, that raises more questions. Should I just move to Vietnam, find an island and a dog, and relax? Or should I live here? Should I move to Oakland? Should I move to Portland? Should I move to Denver? I don't know.
Yeah. That's to me, that's where it gets overwhelming. Where it's like you try and find a solution. You're like, I want to be proactive. I don't want to just like, you know, just continue to feel this. I want to like do something about it. And then you try and find a solution, and there is none. To me, that almost makes it worse, you know?
I try to spin it and say that that's empowering. It's like, it's truly, maybe truly nothing matters. It's like, maybe life really is just like a flame. It's like when the flame goes out, it's not like it goes somewhere. It's just out. Like life is just like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem is that I don't believe that. Like, I, I think having this sort of like fatalistic material view on things does help people cope. Just like, for some people having this religious point of view helps them cope with a lot of this shit. But I think part of my problem is that like I don't believe either of those things. What I believe is that that there is more than this. And the fact that we're like fucking around and wallowing in this stupid shit is preventing us from like reaching that and seeing that. And it's like, it's I've always been like a very self-reliant person. Like in my life I've had a lot of experiences where like that make it very difficult for me to connect with people in a deep way. I'm always kind of like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Because, I'm the kind of person that wants to pour myself into some shit, and when I pour myself into it and it, something crazy happens, someone betrays me or someone like, wasn't as serious as I was or whatever, it fucking hurts. So I'm like, that's my protection mechanism is, staying somewhat aloof to shit. But I don't know, I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard for me to like put my faith in other people. So because of this, I've tended to like internalize a lot of shit and focus on things that like I have control over, and this is why I'm really into mixed martial arts and shit like that, is because the philosophy of like the only thing that you can control in this world is yourself. And you should focus on being able to control yourself as much as possible and being able to, know your limits, know your
He's here.
Oh, he's here. All right. Well, let's wrap this up and we'll get him in here. But you can just text him and say, like 5 minutes or so. But like being able to like know that like you did everything you could do, and like if something doesn't go your way, it just didn't go your way this time. Like you were ready, you trained yourself, you like were focused, and sometimes you lose, and all you can do is like look at what you might have done wrong and trying to improve it. So like looking at these crazy societal problems where it's like, yeah, I can better myself like to the nth degree and it still wouldn't change this. Like maybe if everybody had that philosophy, some shit would change. But, how do you make people think a different way? It's difficult. Obviously it's not impossible because we got to the place where we are now where like people all think the same way, and not everyone, obviously, that's a generalization, but you know what I mean. Like there is this mainstreamification of culture where like a huge amount of people think the same things. They parrot back shit. They think I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, or I believe this. This is what I'm allying myself with. But like, how do you like cut through all that shit, show people that that's a construct, and then get them to the place where they can like better themselves? It seems crazy, And that to me is like what puts me in this weird spot where like I'm sort of you know, it's hard to get out of funks when I'm in them. Excuse me. And I apologize to listeners out there who think this has been a depressing episode. You know, I guess episode 20, it's kind of like a like milestone, like a marker. So it kind of sucks to have that marker be like, you know, have a little sad face on it. But this 20. Is real. Like, this is what I'm going through right now. This is what I feel every day when I wake up and go sit down at my job. You know, I love my job. I love artists and musicians and creating opportunities for them and trying to like build this shit that I think, you know, like this is what needs to be important to our society. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, it's like, I feel like Job. You're like pushing a fucking boulder up a hill, and it's, you know, you're feeling the weight of that fall back on you. It's hard for me to like disassociate from that. But, you know, I guess this is ultimately what fuels creativity and what fuels art in a lot of ways. And people that are artsy types, you know, creative types, they are generally, you know, not the happiest people. I think we all are reminded of that with, you know, the recent news that Robin Williams committed suicide. It's, you know, that's real. Like,
my heart.
It is. I mean, it's heartbreaking because people, and again, this is somewhat a reflection of our society and what it's become, where like we demand so much from people, like, and we expect them to do something for us. Like, I feel like everyone looks at comedians in terms of what, you know, the effect they have on them. Like, oh, they make me laugh. I want, you know, and it's a very selfish thing where they're not thinking about what that person is going through and like the deep sadness that underlies it. You know, when you're listening to that song that is very poignant about, like, you know, when someone's writing a very deep song about someone they knew that killed themselves or something like that, like, we tend to think of it and how it affects us and not so much empathizing with the person that is like pouring this emotion out. It becomes hard to take as the creative type, you know, having to battle the fact that these are your thoughts, that you're always kind of thinking about this, you know, negative shit, and you're overly sensitive. It's tough, man. But, you know, as soon as they're gone, everybody, like, sort of, that empathy comes forward, but the rest of the time, it's not really a factor. So, I guess the moral of this story, to wrap up the episode, is, you know, kind of the moral of a lot of our episodes is that, you know, we need to really give artists the respect that they deserve in our culture, and like find a way to really value that and integrate it into our way of life, because it is something really important. It means something to a lot of people, and it's not just a commodity. That's, you know, that ends up being the subject of a lot of our podcasts, but, you know, it's an ongoing problem, and this contributes to you know, I think it contributes to a lot of the ills in the world, is like people not having that outlet that is valued, and people not feeling like what they're doing or what they want to do, what they want to contribute is valid, and not feeling like there's any way for them to apply themselves. And when you see someone like, you know, Robin Williams apparently hang himself, it's fucking just drives that home. Like, you know, this person has given a lot to the world, has probably helped a lot of people through some rough times, but they themselves couldn't shoulder that burden. You know, that rock eventually fell back on them, and they, you know, or they felt like they couldn't carry it anymore. It was too heavy, and they just let it go. You know, this is what happens when your priorities are fucked up as a culture. You know, you end up losing the people that, you know, mean the most to people. So again, if this episode made you sad, made you want to cry, I apologize. But there's some real shit, Joe.
I don't apologize.
Phil doesn't give a fuck.
I don't, actually.
You know?
I think you should all feel bad. I feel bad, so you should feel bad.
Well, the silver lining to this cloud, I guess, is we're going to be doing another episode next week. Next Wednesday, you'll be able to tune into that episode. And, you know, I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more positive. You know, maybe a smidge.
Check it out.
Yeah, go ahead and let him in. Up the stairs right there. He should be at the back door. And we've got some guys coming by that do secret shows all around the Bay Areas with bands, and put together all kinds of unique events that are word of mouth generated. So check us out next Wednesday here on slimspresents.com or youtube.com/slimspresents, or go find us on iTunes. Just search Between You, Me, and Jose and subscribe there. You can also find us on Stitcher if that's the way you do shit. And like I said, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Comment on this shit. Show us some support. Show us some love on Twitter, Instagram. We primarily post on the Slims SF Instagram. So if you want to hit us up, @SlimsSF on Instagram is a good way to get in touch. If you think there's some shit we need to be talking about on here, you know, definitely feel free to let us know in the comments, or you know, hitting us up on any of our profiles. So thanks again for Phil for coming down and hanging out. And thank you for tuning in to episode 20 of Between You, Me, and Jose. Good night.